Aloha gang, Dr. Russ Rosen here. And I've been processing a whole bunch of information the last while here, and I just thought that I would share it with you in case it might be of help or bring any value to you. You're going to see that I'm going to look right down here because I've been for the last couple hours been writing a whole lot and making a lot of notes to myself, and I wanted to share it again just because I thought it might be able to help you in some way. Um, I recently had a meltdown, an emotional breakdown, the likes of which I've only had a few times in my life. The death of my parents and of a girlfriend that I was deeply in love with when I was 17. And I guess I'll entitle this Can Extreme Trauma and Loss Lead to Extreme and Wonderful Breakthroughs or Benefit? And I'll ask you to, if this interests you at all, you watch it. If not, you won't. And I'll ask you to bear with me as I just ramble. I've just made some notes that, I'll talk about. As many of you know, I lived on Maui for 30 years. And Maui is just a huge part of my life and my heart. The land, or the Aina, the people, the culture, my life there. Surfing and skydiving and scuba and windsurfing and kayaking and just you know absolutely loved living on Maui. And I've been in California for the last 6 years. We're helping out with my folks, with my wife's parents. And although it is the right thing to do, and I'm really happy to be here to do that, I've really missed Maui a lot. It's been really difficult on me to be in California, to be honest. Both my daughters and a lot of my friends are in Maui. And as most of you know, Maui just experienced a horrific fire. And I believe it's the worst one in US history. There's at the moment, I think it's 110, 113 deaths, 1,300 missing. Lahaina's gone, if you know Lahaina at all. It's just such a wonderful piece of that island. There's fires, going on all over the place. And what's most likely coming is going to be terrible. What seems to happen, what happened in Paradise Valley up here. You know, the insurance companies screw the people over. They can't get their land or their home back. They come in and get lowballed by um, developers, and the concern of Maui ever being the same is really a real concern for a lot of us. And so really I just have felt like a piece of my heart has been torn out. And by the way, thank you for all of you who've reached out. I've got wonderful DMs and emails from so many of you reaching out, checking in on me and my family, and I really appreciate it. So I will just share with you what I have gone through in this wild experience that occurred, and then what's happened since then. The night before the fires, my first grandchild was born. So my daughter, Michelle, is over there, and she had her baby. And then I woke up in the morning, and a buddy of mine, doctor, the chiropractor I see, Robert Chick, emailed me or texted me and asked about the fires and was my family safe. And so much of this stuff gets blown out of proportion over there. There's a little fire and it's not a big deal kind of thing. And I just responded, yeah, I'm sure they're fine. I hadn't checked the news yet. And then, found out, what was going on. But I was already emotionally charged. And then I spoke with, because of having a baby, my daughter having the baby, and I wasn't able to be there. And I would have loved to have been there and been able to adjust her through the whole thing. And again, really missing Maui and wanting to be there. And then I spoke with my other daughter who's doing a wedding shoot. She's a photographer, and she was on a beach out in Lahaina. And things started getting squirrely, and she said, look, we got to leave. And she barely got out of there. She was saying no cell phone, traffic. The fire was moving 80 miles an hour, and where she was up on the Poly, she wouldn't have been able to run into the ocean because she would have had to run down the mountain. She never would have made it, but thank God she made it. And a few days later, I was on my way driving to Life West Chiropractic College. I was going to give a talk to the 600 students over there. And mind you, I was very emotionally charged. And as I was driving, a little white bunny rabbit was running across the road and got hit by a car. And if you've ever seen an animal when they're hit and they're stunned, they don't know what happened. Their legs are still going like this. They're trying to run. It's just kind of life trying to continue with life. And that's never a fun thing to see. But I've seen animals hit before and not had this type of response. So immediately, as that happened, simultaneously, I saw my little puppy, who I'm just in love with, being the one that got hit. And then I saw my daughters burning. And then I saw the pictures of what I have been seeing on Maui. And I just had a full meltdown. Uh, it was crazy. So I'm driving in my brand new Corvette, and I'm just wailing, just uncontrollably crying. And obviously, I recognize it's not about bunny rabbit. And as you know, God has humor in my life. About 100 yards later, there's a carcass of another rabbit that was hit that I was on the other day. I saw, and it didn't have this kind of effect, obviously, right? But this was just like this all these things came together, and bam, I saw that, and I just had this full, incredible meltdown. And it went on for like 10 minutes, and it was just wild. And so, I'm on my way to give a talk, and um, it definitely changed. It changed the perspective and tone of that talk quite a bit. And it was a really good talk. I'm really happy how it turned out. If you're interested, let me know. I'm trying to get the video. If you'd like to see the talk that I did for students, you just let me know, and I'll see if I can get that on the landing page, and you can check it out. But what I want to talk about is the processing that I've gone through since, because it really has been what I call a magnitude one experience. That we have a handful of those in our life, and they can crush us, or we can rise up from it. And there's been a little bit of both for me over the last maybe week to 10 days of this. So one of the things that I've noticed is that when we have this type of trauma and loss, there's a part of us that is birthed. We're changed. We're never the same after. Our brain, our emotions, our mind, our spirit are just not the same anymore. One of my great spiritual mentors and life coach named Nick used to say, "Deep in the belly of the wound is the gift." Russ, where's the gift? And he would always, and he's passed on since, but he would always encourage me to dive deep into the belly of the wound. Don't shy away from it. Dive into it, because that's where the gift is. That's where the secret sauce to life is. And it's interesting. One of my younger daughter, who just had the baby, has had a lot of a lot of emotional problems and depression. And, my ex-wife, who I love dearly, has also, we've done the genetic stuff, and she certainly has that whole genetic thing, and I understand really Bruce Lipton and all that stuff, but she's had a lot of challenges and she's very open about it, which is why I feel comfortable talking about it. And one of the things that I was talking with her recently about was in dating, and relationships, that she said, I really just simply cannot be in a relationship with somebody who hasn't had a lot of the type of mental challenges and depression that I've had, because they just don't get it. They just don't get me. There's a depth to people that have had that type of pain and suffering. And I'm not supporting that or not. I'm just saying, man, that makes sense. It's really interesting, of people who have been through a lot of loss, and who they become, and that type of thing. My stepdad was in, concentration camp when he was 12, 13, 14 years old. And, he used to tell me all the time that, life was just gravy. He never expected to get out of there. Um, and just, he had such a wonderful view, of life, because of that type of loss that he'd been through. So I've been working with a doctor, for the last maybe month, who in the past has had a lot of depression, had been suicidal, and, she recently was going through it again. I've been doing a lot of work with her. She's also, doing a lot of other work, but I've been doing a lot of neuroemotional technique work with her, in our coaching sessions. And, we had talked about deep in the belly of the wound is the gift. And we also went through a particular process that I call giver gift value as a result. And it's something I do with my coaching clients. We're always dealing with headspace and procedure of growing a practice, but also a life, right? How do I have the most wonderful life I can have? And the practice is a part of it. And so, she's been going through this, and we went through giver gift value as a result. And that goes something like this. In this particular case, the giver is the depression, that she's been going through, and it's also the gift. The gift is this depression. And I asked her, what is the value to you been? She's finally coming out of it and starting to do much better. And she was like, I don't really know. And then we dove deeper into it. And I've asked her, have you noticed any changes in yourself lately? Have you been more loving? Have you been more compassionate? Have you been more kind? And she was saying, I really have. Like, I really have noticed, and I've just had so much more compassion for other people. She was saying she was talking to I think it's a preacher at church, who she's also doing some counseling with, and was saying, um, that she recognized, I look at the people at church and I recognize everybody's going through stuff. And I never really saw that before, but everyone's going through something. And the depth is different at different times, but clearly the longer we live, the more trauma and loss we will experience. But she was saying that she really has noticed that. And I asked her, in her practice, have you noticed any difference in your practice? And she said, yeah, people have been opening up to me like they never have before. And in the last week, 3 different people opened up, about things that they were going through. And she was able to be there and be more present and more kind and more loving, and help them in ways that she just hasn't been able to help them, before. And so it's giver gift value. Those are some of the values. And as a result, so I asked, as a result, if we were to look, back 30 years, go forward 30 years, and look back and say, that time I had that depression, when I was, in 2023, if you're able to look back and say, look how my life changed since, look what a better, you know, spouse I've been, what a better parent I've been, what a better lover I've been, what a better doctor I've been. Would this have been a valuable experience? And she said, yes. And I said, is it something that you would trade in if you could not have experienced it? It was like, no. I mean, the perspective that I now have, this depth that I now have, I wouldn't give that up. And that's a really wonderful perspective. So, as oftentimes, it's very difficult for me to process my own stuff, go figure, but it's really easy when I'm helping other people. So, I've just been doing a lot of this for myself in the last several days and writing a whole lot. And these are just some of the things that I've come up with for myself. And again, I'm just sharing them with you in case it happens to help you in any way, because it's been very deep and rich for me. Um, you know, I haven't not, my wife and I were talking last night that we haven't gone a day without really feeling it and crying, seeing what's going on in Maui and seeing the pictures. And, I hear a Hawaiian song and it's just been really brutal going through it. So I've been doing a lot of gift giver value as a result for me. Um, and here are some of the things that I've come up with. You know, it always comes down for me when it just no matter what, it always comes down to more love, compassion, and kindness. I had a different spiritual mentor named Bruce, and he lived out in the Himalayas, you know, in the 60s at a Buddhist monastery. And what a character this guy is. And he studied most of the major world religions. And, he would always just bring that back for me. You know, Black Book, Bibles, let's go kill someone. I'm not in. Love, compassion, kindness, I'm in. Right. So, I'm not saying anything bad about religions at all. I'm just saying when it turns into we're the only ones and we're going to go kill people, I'm not interested. But love, compassion, kindness. And, you know, most of my adult life, because I met Bruce when I was 23. So most of my adult life, I've had this mantra of love, compassion, and kindness. And clearly, it's a lesson I need to learn in this lifetime because I can have times where I am not kind and I don't have compassion. And then I'm brought to my knees again. And I have, another opportunity to be deeper and more loving and more compassionate and more kind. And I'm being very clear here. I'm in no way trying to say that, and that's who I am all the time, because I'm not. I'm just not. But these difficult situations always give me an opportunity to do that. And one of the lessons I've had a real opportunity lately with my younger daughter that I've been going through a lot with her since December. So we're in August. It's been a while. We've been going through this. Is really allowing her to experience her journey, and my journey is allow her to do it. Is allow her to experience her journey and some of the difficulties that she's been going through. I look at a Venn diagram, a circle and a circle. And, I've lived most of my life as a parent with, mine over hers like this. And then I experienced that. And then it changes my ability to be able to be loving, compassionate, and kind. Um, I'm her parent, but she's 29. She needs to experience her own life. And I don't have control over her. I don't. And you know, I shouldn't, and so I had this visual of doing that. You're there, I'm here. And I'm going through the same thing with what's going on in Maui right now. There's so much loss, and there's so many people going through it. And, I have to be able to separate that from myself. And, I've done that before with numbing myself out. But then these kinds of experiences, I just don't have that choice. It doesn't work. So I dive deeper. I go into the belly of the wound. Um, and again, it's just this, opportunity. It really is an opportunity. And these trite phrases of, well, is it a challenge or an opportunity? Uh, they seem to be, more deep when we're going through this kind of stuff. At least for me, it is. So clearly, this is a challenge and it's an opportunity, both. And it's another opportunity for me to, allow people to do their thing and experience their life, which is something I've not been good at. I've always been a rescuer. Uh, Go figure. Became a chiropractor and then a coach, trying to fix and help and that kind of stuff. And that's just apparently my lot in life that I work on all the time. So that's something that I've been learning a lot more lately. And another one, my buddy Nick, and one of my mentors, Nick, when I gave the eulogy at my father's funeral when I was 30, and I was talking to Nick about that. I was so afraid that I was going to cry up there, which I knew I would, but I didn't want to. And he has a great American Indian phrase, which is he or she who cries first and hardest at a funeral is the first to laugh. Um, and I am reminded of that in what I'm going through right now. Just to not to shy away from it, to dive into it, and that the grieving process is a process. It's not an event, and it comes in cycles. And just not to shy away from the pain, not to shy away from the grief, because that's where the juice is. That's where life is. That's where the gift is. And I look back at and most people that I've talked to, and I've coached a lot of people through a lot of trauma in the last 23 years. And most people eventually get to the place that they can look back and recognize that it really was a gift. We don't always see it in the moment. There was a wonderful patient of mine. Many of you know that in my practice, for several years, I really bought what Didi Palmer said, that, I think it was Didi or BJ, I think it was Didi who said the intent of the adjustment was to connect the physicality of man with the spirituality of man. And I bought that. I really bought it. And the work that I did doing network at the time, a lot of people really connected with spirit at a higher level. And so that was my focus. And I would tell people, I know you're in pain, but that's not my goal. I want to connect you with spirit at a higher level, which I'm really not recommending you do in practice. And certainly when I got sick and was in the emergency room thinking I was dying, I didn't want the doctor in the ER room to say, do you want to connect with spirit at a higher level? But during that time, there was a guy named Terry, and he also has passed since. But I asked him why he was here, and he said, I come from a very wealthy family, a very, very well-known wealthy family, and I was supposed to take over the business. And I decided that I didn't want to do that. I didn't like what we were doing. And so I decided that I wanted to, be like Jesus. And he said, I took off my shoes and I walked for like several years around the globe, just walked and, wanted to live a different life. And we had a lot of wonderful conversations. Terry and I, we became good friends. And we had talked a lot about deep in the belly of the wound is the gift. And he was at another friend of mine's house. He was washed his windows. He was on the third floor of the house up on the roof, and he fell and broke about everything. And I went to the hospital to adjust him. Um, Thank God I did kind of light force energy work because he was broken like everywhere. And as I walked in the room, he could barely talk. He was heavily sedated. And he looked at me and I go, oh, brother, looks like you can use an adjustment. And he says, Russ, where's the gift? Ah, um, so we don't always see the gift in the moment. We don't always see the gift in the moment, but if we keep looking through a different lens and through a different perspective, usually so far in my life and most people that I've worked through with this kind of stuff, we can find the gift. again, the longer we live, the more suffering and loss we're going to experience. It just is what it is, you know. You outlive your friends and your family, and there's loss. Um, um, but I really do notice when I dive deep into this suffering, I suffer less. If I don't dive deep into it and I shy away from it, I suffer more. So I do my best to just jump into it, and again, I fail a lot. Um, Again, clearly something I need to learn in this lifetime because I keep going back to it. Um, Look, we've all suffered loss. We've all suffered tragedy in our lives. That isn't the question. You know, the question is, what do we do about it? The question is, who do we become because of it? The question is, does it bury us? Does it make us more angry or sullen or sad or depressed? Or does it bring light into our lives? And then do we bring it to the rest of the world? Do we go and do our best to be a better person, a better lover, a better husband or wife or doctor or teacher or parent or child? And you know, that's what I'm here for. That's my goal. That's what I'm always shooting for. And again, to be clear, I fail a lot. So I'm in no way trying to say that, you know, I'm some enlightened being, because I'm not. Um, so I just felt the need to share that. And it's funny, many of you know that my nephew is the little kid from Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire, which again, I guess is so old now, many of you haven't seen it. But you know, there's that scene where he has this realization, and then he writes his mission statement, and then his whole life crumbles because of it. And I I feel like this is one of those things, you know, that but I just feel like I need to put it out there. So I'm going to put it out there. If you made it to the end of this and you find value, it makes me happy. And if you think I'm just nuts or crazy, then that's okay too. Um, you know, I'm always looking when I'm coaching people at headspace and procedure. I'm always looking at their lives, not just their practice. If you feel that I can help you in any way, you let me know. Um, because this is my passion and my purpose is helping people thrive. So I hope you found value. Um, and if you did and you wanted to flip me an email, that'd be cool too. Um, as always, much love and aloha. Bye, gang.